Otcu, and this is Observations with Otcu. If I am a little slurry or tired, I apologize. You could probably feel it in my voice. I had a pretty busy weekend yesterday, and then in addition to that, a lot of things came up, and I didn't go to bed till like 2 in the morning, so it's quite a rough start for me today. So I apologize in advance if perhaps I don't perform as well as with in my voice or what have you. So we'll just get right started. We got a lot of stuff going on today. We got the friend tech stuff. I kind of want to mention, and if you guys are unfamiliar with Observations with Otsu, I've kind of transformed it just slightly, and it's a weekly perspective. It used to be 1 day and 4 hour perspective. I've kept the 1 day, and I've pretty much got rid of the whole entire 4 hour perspective unless I reference it for a few seconds. In exchange to that, I decided to cover a little bit of trading education ish, not quite education, but more just applying practical application to the things that I say. And I say them throughout the video, so it's not like you can fast forward through that. So it kind of gives you a little more flavor to the analysis, and I think that's one thing that this, crypto Twitter or XT or whatever it's called now. I think that's one thing that it's really needed. A lot of traders tend to just give their cold analysis, and my business, by the way, I've studied a lot of traders as well, and social media accounts. And one thing that a lot of people have in common when they do analysis, they have YouTube channels, and that their engagement's significantly low compared to the average YouTuber, for example. Now Twitter is a little bit different. But as far as other platforms, it's very bad. It's very poor. The metrics are poor. Their revenue is poor. And I know they're not doing it for YouTube per se. There's a lot of very popular YouTube people out there. BitBoy is one of them, even though I don't agree with him. It's just anyway. Long story short, I would talk about that for 2 hours. The point being is, the YouTube audience generally views analysis as very cold, and doesn't really look at it very often. So I decided to add a little for flavor to this. In addition to that, I don't normally talk topics, but I'm going to talk friend tech today as well, and I will say that briefly here in the beginning. Kind of get that out of the way. So we got a lot of things to discuss. I'm going to go over Bitcoin and Ethereum and XRP perhaps, and if we have time, some other ones, but I doubt we'll have extra time. So, all right, let's just go ahead and get started. Enough rambling, and we'll get to it. All right, so first things first is actually friend tech, and I'm going to briefly mention like what it is, and then kind of go into my personal thoughts. If you are familiar, if you're in my Discord and you're familiar with me, I am not part of FriendTech at all. I have no association with it. I have not used the platform. And my general idea, if you want to fast forward through this, is I don't like it. I don't like the platform. I think it could give you some short-term gains, but I do think it's just the buzz of the quarter. Same with a lot of coins. That's how I feel about Pepe. Also, I know a lot of people disagree with me. They think Pepe is going to be the next Dogecoin. I think Dogecoin is going to be the next Dogecoin. So the thing is, you get these flavors of the month, or flavors of the even 6 months to a year. Like last year, it was Steppen. 5 years ago, it was Crypto All Stars. Okay, like I'm familiar with these terms. I've been through these, right? Like even big NFT platforms. There's some that, like there's one like Lamborghinis. Does anybody even know what that is? Because I was helping people trade that. A lot of my clientele was, so like those were early NFTs, and those were before NFTs even got popular, and they became popular because they were older. They were like 2018 NFTs basically. So anyway, long story, long story. But what I'm getting at is my general vibe from FinTech is not good. For a few different reasons. One, so what FriendTech really is you go onto the platform, you sign up, and you pretty much you engage on there, and the idea is that you're trying to get people to buy shares of yourself. And so there's a lot of weird issues with that. One, it seems the game, like I guess the big positive is you can make money doing that, but also it's also a good gamified way to trade, and hats off to them. It's a really good idea as far as gamification, and that's really the draw of NFTs and other things. Because I've worked with a lot of clients that have NFT gaming projects where their biggest foundation is not the NFTs, it's the game. You play the game and then you buy NFTs, or you earn NFTs in the game. And anyway, it works well because the whole gamified thing works well. Gaming is really popular. If you haven't figured that out yet, it's more popular than like sometimes there's sports games that are more popular than the sports themselves, right? Um, so I can go on to that. But the whole point is with FriendTech, despite the fact that there's these good gamified aspects to it, there's there's a lot of red flags for me. And the first thing is, one, your basic MO is you're making money off of basically selling yourself, the idea of your account on X or Twitter, and so there's some issues with that. But it's just honestly, it's just a little too egotistical. I mean, I think that's a little bit on the nose as far as all that goes. Um, so the idea is you're basically trying to. It's very similar to Twitter in some sense because you got followers and all that, but you're also trying to get people to buy shares of yourself instead of just following you. And so that's a little too on the nose for me. That's just not my mo. First of all, second of all, there's a lot of concerns about connections to your Twitter account. They have access to your account. They can post. They can revoke. They can do other things. They have access to. I mean, of course, they have access to your on-chain metrics because you got to deposit money. But there's a little bit of security concerns for me. So anyway, those are just my general thoughts. I actually had some material to show you, screenshots and all that, but they're not loading for some reason, so I'll have to kind of skip all this. But the general idea is I've seen some programmers talk about how it's kind of buggy. I actually just saw that they're giving out an update, so I guess that's a good thing. I don't know. Look, I'm not here to diss on it necessarily, just giving my thoughts. Um, I heard that the bonding curve is not good. There's a lot of aspects to it, and it's one of those things. It's already blown up so much that it could go down. It has a higher chance of going down much more significantly, right? So there's always that cautionary thing. But the whole flavor of the month thing, it's really no different than like market cycles. It's just a shorter time frame, right? And so that's kind of what you need to look at. There was a time where I would have traded Bitcoin Cash, for example, and Bitcoin Cash is still doing okay, relatively speaking. And I think it's going to do better since the ETF news. So it's probably not the best example, but there's other coins that like Namecoin, for example. Like do you guys know even know what Namecoin is? But Namecoin was a coin popular, back in 2016, for example, and it was tradable. Now it's not, right? So it's one of those things. Like a lot of coins will die off, and even some coins that are good, like Chainlink, for example, which is a relatively newer coin in my opinion, from my experience. It's been dead for some. Or not. I don't want to say dead, but it's been pretty inactive, right, compared to other coins. So I want that to keep in mind. Like there are some coins don't survive to the next cycle. And I'm not saying Chainlink will or won't. I'm not talking that, right? But overall, when it comes to things like FriendTech and things like that, like they're much more sensitive to dying off. And so I just want people to keep aware of that. I'm trying to save you money in a sense. So I would not. I wouldn't go into this thinking that you're going to make a lot of money because I saw someone make like $50. I'm like, really? Like that's it? Like you can. I mean, to be honest, the honest thing about these things is you think you can make money because it's just a new thing. It's not even a new big thing necessarily. Yeah, I mean, it has some money on it, but so does Bitcoin, so does Ethereum, and that goes back to previous videos I've made. Like you could make more by studying the same coin over and over and over again. So like Bitcoin, for example, like you should be familiar with Bitcoin anyway because it's kind of the market leader. It is the market leader. It's an uncontested market leader in cryptocurrency. So you got to kind of get used to that, right? So if you understand it, you feel safer trading that versus some random hyped up thing that you don't know who the team is. You don't there was no private policy. There's a lot of things that are concerning about it, right? Where Bitcoin is tradable, and just you can increase your risk accordingly, and you'll probably make more money doing that. So I don't know. That's just a thought. So we'll just kind of get into the analysis. Kind of the flowing theme for today is going to be about portfolio allocation. So I'm going to talk about that while discussing Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP. All right, so we're going to take a look at Bitcoin. We're going to look at the weekly first, go on to the daily, and also keeping in mind with things like Friend Tech. Um, I saw a post, and I wish I could find it because I don't know. My computer refreshed, and I apologize. But anyway, the idea was, don't put any money into Frentech unless it's just like extra money that you have that you're willing to get rid of like entirely. Like you don't care that it goes to zero. And honestly, that's a really good point. And I agree with that. But I also agree even further that you should also have the same mentality when it comes to a lot of NFTs, um, it comes to a lot of altcoins, and even crypto in general. As far as in real life, I'm assuming I'm talking to a real person with real things going on in their lives, and it's not smart, it's not wise to put all your money into crypto and not into other things, right? And I'm not talking about diversification or nothing or wealth generation, nothing like that. It's just the idea that you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket and then that basket just burns to pieces, right? So that's another thing. So for me, for example, like we got a car. I know that's a depreciating asset, but we do have a car. We have a condo overseas. We got other things that we got going on, right? So I want you to keep that in mind, and that kind of flows into the portfolio allocation because how much money should we be putting towards crypto in general? How much of the crypto that we do have should be being put on Bitcoin or Ethereum or other assets? Is it wise? Is it wise to be more into Bitcoin versus altcoins or altcoins versus Bitcoins? So, see what I'm saying? And in general, like let's say you have a net worth of $100,000, which is I use it for math purposes. It's just easy. Do you and let's say you put half of that into the crypto world, which I think is a little too high in my opinion, but just for math, do you count that as your total net worth? Do you count it as part of it? We'll kind of get into that. I won't say everything because a lot of that is something I discuss in my academy, but I will kind of go over, you know, that idea, the theme of that as we go. So we'll take a look at that, look at key observations, and go from there. All right. So looking at Bitcoin, had a pretty big week last week. I think that's a surprise to literally nobody. And so far, it continues to go down. We still kind of have the Monday meh kind of reaction, right? We usually have, we used to call it Bloody Mondays back 2017, 2018. I think we're kind of going back to that, honestly. And I think that tends to be how stocks are too. I don't really know. Haven't paid attention in that perspective with stocks, but we kind of have the same thing. We have a Monday drawdown. We did go below the 50 RSI, so that's concerning to me. The ARUN is in a bearish consolidation, so that's not concerning to me. This price action is not a surprise to me. I didn't think that we would go down so sharply, but that was an idea that I had. We'll look at that as we go into the daily. But one thing is, we did kind of cross into this sector here, but there's no real retest point on the weekly. Like this above here is way too high. This one's too low. So we're kind of stuck in that range. We do kind of have this right here. And we did, I mean, we closed above it actually. So this isn't too significant on the weekly. Overall, I do kind of want to add this as well, the 200 EMA. That's actually better to see on the other chart, the Brave New Coin. And so that touched it a little bit better in my opinion. But we'll kind of go ahead and get back to that. We still had the same breakdown and all that, so nothing changes as far as that. We're only down 0.5% for the day, and if you notice this kind of leads into my portfolio allocation theme. We're less than 1% down for Bitcoin, but everything else is a minimum of 1.3. Some things are down 4, 5. And if you go down here, I mean, here's one that's up. I don't know why OP is up. That's a short position actually. I need to get rid of that. I don't trade that anymore, but you can see how things are different. Like some of them are almost down 10% versus 5%, like, or not 5%, like 0.5%. And so that's crucial to me. And that's one reason why I focus on portfolio allocation and why it's so important. Because Bitcoin tends to be less volatile than other assets, generally. Despite the fact that how portfolio or volatile we perceive Bitcoin to be, it is much less volatile than other assets. And so that's why I want to say, like, we always, and I'm gonna go on an event probably. I'm gonna try not to, but the whole thing is like I always see people, when I do chart requests, right? Like alt this, and it's fine. I love doing it. I love doing it. But the funny thing is like it never fails. And I'm not dissing on this. This is not a bad thing, okay? When I say this, so I'm not trying to insult anyone, okay? That being said, there's always somebody that gives me like the most obscure chart request possible of a chart that I've never heard of, that's like less than 500 market cap, or like ranking 500 or whatever, right? Like not always, right? But the thing is like there's always some obscure thing, and occasionally there's some person in particular that's what they focus on. They focus on those things. And there's a lot of accounts out there that focus on small caps and things like that. And look, it's a whole realm of issues, way different video, series of videos even. What I'm trying to say is that a lot of people focus on the speculation of that. They always look at those random coins, like how much money can I make off these coins? But what they don't understand is how much money can I lose off of these coins? And that's the thing that I really want people to understand. You can make a lot of freaking money off of these altcoins. You can. I've done it. Other people have done it. I've seen people become millionaires in less than a year. Okay? Me personally, when I started crypto, I had $20 to my name. Okay? And I literally added a zero year after year after year to my net worth. Okay, so I've done it. I haven't done it to the pace as other people have done it, but I've seen it. Okay, but I've also seen people take $50 million and burn it to the ground with crypto. I've seen people lose their net worth. Okay, so don't be the guy that experiences both, at least in that order, right? So I want you to make money. I don't want you to lose money. And the point is, you can make a lot of freaking money with altcoins, especially lower cap ones. But you can also lose a lot of money. And people don't want to hear that. Or they have heard it and they just don't want to comprehend that. And so that's where portfolio allocation comes into play, because there is a time and a place to do it. During the bull market, especially, the time is ripe where you can throw a dart at a chart list and you can buy something and it'll go 2 3x. Okay, and I've experienced that myself probably 5 times. Like where for like 3 months at a time, I could literally just hit green when I go to bed, hit the buy signal when I go to bed on any random, like, get a random number generator, pick a number, hit buy, go to bed. You wake up, you 2x. Okay, I've seen it, I've done it. So I've taken, I've had a lot of various examples, but one example was I got paid by a client like 150 bucks, like really low at the time for just something basic. It took me like an hour. I'm like, whatever, 150 bucks is fine. I didn't really need the money. Long story short, so anyway, I got like, it might have been like 200 or maybe 300 at the most, but it was definitely, I think it was about 200 bucks, and I turned that into $7,000, by flipping random coins during the bull market. And so I've done it before, and it's a great feeling. The problem is it doesn't happen all the time, and now is probably the worst number one time to do it. Like, you should not be buying coins right now with the expectation to have them multiply. And that's why things like friend tech are so popular right now, is because people are bored, people need the dopamine fix, people just need that trading high versus just focusing their efforts elsewhere. In my opinion, your efforts should be focusing on education, learning how to trade the best you can, allocating your assets proportionately where they need to go, and preparing for the market cycle to come. The market cycle may not come. I'm aware of that. But the point is, you got to prepare yourself either way. You never know what the future holds, right? But luck favors the prepared. So it's good to get into a position to where you can take advantage of that in the future. So anyway, going to portfolio education or allocation with Bitcoin, I think it's more important to kind of focus on having a lot of Bitcoin versus other assets, and we can kind of look at that from a higher time frame perspective as well, like something like the 2 week chart. I'll use my A band for this, and it's very simple. Like when the market is blue like this, I tend to be more stronger into Bitcoin, but you also want to look at things like the total market cap and kind of do the same thing. It's very similar in some sense, but I would not be buying altcoins when things are like this. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me. So anyway, there's a time and a place for having Bitcoin versus altcoins, and I don't think the time is now. I think the time is a little bit later, when things start to grow. I think more importantly, you should be buying alts with the expectation of they might go up next year, not next week. So anyway, so we'll go back to the regular analysis for Bitcoin, and we'll kind of share this here. So going back to, well, actually, we'll go to the daily now. And so we broke through the 200 on the daily. I'm not too concerned about the 200 email on the daily. I'm only concerned about 200 on the weekly. So we had this divergence here from June. I don't think this is. I don't think that's a divergence. Now I'm looking at. I must have looked at a different coin or something like that. So, and we had the impulse from that, and we kind of slid down, and now we kind of broke, and now we're kind of at this resistance point. So, a few things to note. First of all, RSI is pretty down low. The Aaron is also a wide bullish consolidation, and we have not consolidated bullishly, which tells me that this is a little bit stretched. Okay, like as far as liquidity, as far as like the downward price action, I think that we are a little bit um overstretched as far as the down move. So I do think that we're going to get an impulse. What this usually happens, I would say divergence, but Aaron doesn't view divergences technically that way. I still call them divergences in the academy, but overall, excuse me. Overall, what should happen is once the bullish line, the blue line, comes up above the black line, we should see a larger impulse to the upside. We should if it's valid, and sometimes it doesn't. But overall, I know I said I wouldn't go on the 4 hour, but this is that's so close to being this was divergent here, and I'm not sure this is valid anymore. But this is an interesting sign. We might impulse and we might range, honestly, for like this amount of time. I would not be surprised if we just range for almost the rest of the month, and we kind of confuse pretty much everybody. So that's one thing to be concerned about. Overall, I don't see a reason to short here. It's the time to short was like 3 weeks ago, honestly, and so we do have other things to look at. We have a trend line, and that was broken. But again, we're kind of in no man's land here. We also have like this liquidity structure. So I have a hard time thinking that we're going to go below, 27, 24/7. I have a lot of people telling me like, and I've seen this on Twitter as well, like, oh, I can't wait for 18,000. We're going there. I've even seen lower. And it's like, come on. Like, really? Like, come on. Um, the time to say that was not like yesterday. A lot of people, I mean, you really think we're going to go down another 30%? We could. I'm not saying that we won't, but we have to look at this from structure to structure. Right now, we have two big structures here. We have this one to break down, and we have this one as well. This one, I think people really misinterpret how hard 24/7 is going to be to break, because we had like a double, this was divergent and that was retested. Okay, so this has integrity to it. It was retested again. So um this right here, I'll just get rid of that. This line right here should hold very strongly. And I would not be surprised if we actually drop down to 25,000. We end up getting a divergence, and then we end up launching from there. We'll see. I don't want to predict that necessarily, but I think people really underestimate how strong the 24,000 to 25,000 range really is. On top of that, we do have the 200 EMA on the 1 week. So that's another thing. Like the the 200 EMA should not be a situation where you break it very often. We can kind of look at this, right? So we broke out above here. People thought we were going back down to 20,000 at this point. We didn't. We went to 30,000 instead. So that retested. Now we're doing it again. Does the EMA retest more than once? We'll find out, I guess. But this broke and it stayed broke, right? So once it tends to cross, it doesn't tend to recross over and over again. Here you kind of had a touch, like you can view it differently. As you can view it as a buying opportunity. If it wicks down below and goes above, I think that's a buying opportunity. And we had this here. So on the Coinbase chart, it was never a thing, right? And so that's what people don't realize. Like we had that here for Brave New Coin, and it went above. This went back below, and it stayed up. So I'm saying like this doesn't get retested over, like it doesn't chop through is what I'm saying. Like 200 EMA on the weekly is a very 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 respectable indicator and trend. It has not been bastardized, okay, throughout its entire history, and hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully it doesn't be get chopped up, because that would be a very bad sign in my opinion, that the market is starting to not care about trading analysis as much. So I have no reason to think that this is bearish. In fact, I think this is bullish because it did break below and now it retested. So I have no reason to think that we can't look at this as a good thing, especially if we reclaim the 50, right? So we can look at that on this here. This was the RSI was already broken for some time. On this one, this was broken for what, I guess 2 or 3 weeks. But once we broke above it, that was what, 7,000, 7,700, and that was a good buy, right? So any time crossing bullish above it was a buy, but when we crossed back above and we had the RSI 50 reclaim, that was a significant buy-in. So that's what I'm looking at right now. If we stay above the 200 on the Brave New Coin ticker, which is Bitcoin, just longer history, and we reclaim 50, I am like giga long. Okay, I'm ridiculously giga long until it invalidates. We also have the halving coming up. I'm not. I know that there's a lot of differences of opinion about the halving coming up. That's what this red line is for. I'm not here to say one way or the other. There's a lot of people that just think it's going to be different this time, and I don't know. I don't have any opinion, but we do have the halving, so it is a significant event to be aware about. So anyway, that's the Bitcoin weekly and daily, and that's my observation for Bitcoin. By the way, is just be mindful of this 200 EMA. You have to respect it, right? This is a major thing. This is the worst time to short in the past 2 months, honestly, because, or in the past month at least, because we've already went down, and that's what I'm trying to say about people that just can't trade very smart and very wise. They wait until something happens um, significantly to be like, all right, now I'm bearish. Or really, like, why are you bearish at 25,000 but not at 32? Okay, when we had the SPF and a weekly divergence and everything else, right? The weekly divergence was right here. So anyway, I I am neutral right now, and I will be giga bullish if we hold this 200 and the RSI and the A rune both flip bullish. So we'll see how that goes. So anyway, on to Ethereum. All right, going to Ethereum. I think I spent enough time on Bitcoin. We'll see if we have time for XRP. Overall, I'm not going to really get rid of any of the analysis here on Ethereum that I had. The thing is, we had another drop down. Like I said, this one broke below, so this is a bearish breaker. And so the key thing about bearish breakers is they usually get retested. So we can kind of look at this like so. Not to draw another one. Maybe I can get rid of some of this stuff. But the retest point will be somewhere between 1693 and 1724. We're probably going to get that in the next couple days. That's not something that's going to be too hard to get. Let's see, how much would that be from here? Probably about 2%. So yeah, that we could get that today even. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Another thing also to keep in mind is Ethereum is also very similar to Bitcoin right now, where it's not losing enough compared to other assets. And that's what I want to kind of put in perspective. The portfolio allocation right now, it's clear to me that people are maintaining Bitcoin and Ethereum is maintaining more of its value than other assets. Okay, yes, they can go up higher, but they also can go down more. And right now, it's more of a focus to keep your perspective on the mains. I can tell you that 95% of my current allocation is in Bitcoin, Ethereum, or stablecoins. Okay, I have very few assets in altcoins right now for this reason. I'm waiting for high time frame buys, right? And right now is not the time to do it. Even something like SHIB, it's got kind of a squeeze point here, but I mean, these have been bearish for a long time now. And so, things like this has been bearish for some time. And like I said, the opportunity right now is just it's not high enough to get those rewards, right? So I'm focusing more on long-term buys, holding them, going through that on the daily. No divergence here. I can kind of check on the 4 hour, but nothing quite significant. We might get something here on 12 hour maybe if this goes down enough, but nothing right now, of course. Honestly, it's just a play at the break of the range. That's kind of what I'm looking at. So I last week I said I was going to wait for this to go down to short. It went too far for me to short. This is not a time for me to short. I'm interested if this can hold, especially if it can break above here. I'm interested in buying. If it breaks down below here, I'm interested in buying as well. So we'll see how that goes. That's I don't think that this is going to be easy to achieve, much like Bitcoin. That's a 12% drop for one. Two, we have a lot of stuff to go through because you really have this whole entire order block as well. And so you really have 1568 to go with, and that's actually where we bounced from a few days ago. So good luck getting through that for now. I'm not saying we can't. Plus the RSI is so low. Like when we're getting to like RSI of 20, like that's the time to close your positions if you shorted and wait for a reaction. Okay, there's very few short opportunities available to you when the RSI is down that low. I'm tired of RSI being considered a joke, because it is a very helpful tool. And so let me just kind of analyze that as well. Like we got like let's say 20, let's say we'll go 23, let's say. And so if you kind of skim through this, we had one down here, right? And this was this was in June, and we did kind of range below that, or we ranged around this region, but we didn't really. I'm not looking for bottoms necessarily, right? I'm not looking for like, all right, that was the bottom, right? But we can kind of look in hindsight and realize that was a bad idea to short that area, right? Same with here. Yeah, we went down eventually, but that from here this was in January, right? So this was the bottom ish in January. It was not a time to short. It was the time to reshort that was in May. And so that's the thing when you if you get something like this, you wait. And so you don't short here, but you short the break of that when we get back to that point, right? And that was an easy short. That was a very easy short and a very rewarding short, but the RSI at that time was 50. See what I'm saying? So you wait for it to come up first. I just don't see a reason to short at that point, right? And we haven't even, I don't think we've even experienced it. Like it just comes off the chart now. So we didn't get another one until COVID. See what I'm saying? Like we've had three chances at the RSI level at this low in the past 3 years. Let's just say four. Do you really want to take a chance on shorting right now? See what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense to me. The odds are not in your favor. So overall, I would wait for a reclaim of this range about 17. I say 1730 to be safe side to long, or I would long 1473 if we get it. And so that's kind of the range I'm playing with that. Um, so that's pretty much it. I think I'm gonna forego XRP for now. Really, the only thing that you want to keep in mind is that we have this range here, and we're kind of above it, the 45 cent mark. I said that we would go at 55 cents. We actually went down further than that. We're at 51. Went for a reclaim of 55 cents, or a perhaps a divergence of some sort at 45 cents. But I'll cover that more in nowhere Discord later today. So anyway, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sorry if I'm a little sluggish because I need to get some sleep. I also need to eat. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this and let me know how you feel about this and have a good day.